Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.
Hello, and welcome to Eat, Drink, DFW, the podcast from the Dallas Morning News food team. Each week, we take a look at food and drink trends in North Texas, talk about restaurants in Dallas-Fort Worth, learn some new recipes, and sometimes even get tips from you, our listeners. I'm Anna Butler, the Dallas Morning News' food editor. We have a special guest this week who has information on a new artificial intelligence tool that has some fascinating potential for the wine industry. That's all coming up right after this.
Central Market is really into food, like fish flown in so fresh it still has jet lag into food. Our sourdough starter has been around since grunge was a thing into food. We're talking more prime cuts than a greatest hits album into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then we're the HQ for you, whether you're a make every recipe in the cookbook foodie or a my favorite recipe is reheat type who just digs the delectable. No place makes every day more delicious like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
For the latest food and restaurant news in Dallas-Fort Worth, visit dallasnews.com/food. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so email us at eatdrink@dallasnews.com. Today, I am joined by our food writers, Claire Baller and Sarah Blaskovich. Imelda Garcia is out today, but Miriam Fauzia is back.
Hello, all.
Miriam is our science fellow here at the Dallas Morning News. You might remember her from past episodes on the benefits of spicing your food and the implications of Ozempic on the food industry. Miriam actually came across some research from a scientist at Southern Methodist University, and this researcher has been experimenting with AI and wine, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Maybe before we jump into that, I'd love to gauge what y'all do when you want to decide a wine to drink.
Well, if I'm in a restaurant and we're going to buy a bottle that I've never heard of, this happens all the time. I will Google it and see what people think about that bottle. But Miriam, then I will reflect, did these people know what they're talking about? So I don't know that the reviews help me or not, but I do look them up, and then that creates more doubt.
I really appreciate the wine spectator scores. I do use those typically to try to find the best possible value, so something with a super high rating but isn't that expensive. I also use it for gift giving, so I can give someone something that's really nice, but I probably can't afford the $2,000 bottle.
More than once I have found myself standing in a wine aisle, frantically scrolling through reviews on Vivino, trying to decide what to get and having decision fatigue. It usually ends in me being saved by an employee who could see the look on my face and comes over to help me.
Yeah, I feel like that basically makes sense when trying to buy anything, just the helpless look on your face and someone with more knowledge coming and rescuing you. I mean, interesting you mentioned Vivino, Claire, because Vivino does also have an AI sommelier. I can never say that word because I'm not French.
Let's just stick with Somm.
Yeah, let's stick with Somm. So the AI will take information on like flavor profiles, grape types, regions, and wineries, expert reviews and ratings. They'll use something called machine learning models to analyze patterns in the data. Like, for instance, fruity wines tend to get higher ratings when you pair them with spicy food, or if people who like a certain wine also tend to like another. And just like we see with social media algorithms, these AI somms will keep track of your past ratings, kind of like Netflix for wine, when it comes to recommending something else to you. And kind of on that note about expert ratings, they'll use words that we don't ordinarily use in our everyday conversations to say something's positive or negative. Like, I came across some wines like those made from Sauvignon grapes as having tasting notes of cat pee, or aged Rieslings having a signature gasoline-like aroma. I've also seen the word carpet thrown around, like in this sentence, a carpet of super fine tannins.
Or a carpet that smelled like cat pee.
That's the worst kind of wine.
So we have all these subjective descriptions of a wine that can be hard to gauge what that reviewer's actual or genuine sentiment is. This is where Professor Jing Chao, who is a statistician at Southern Methodist University and self-proclaimed foodie, comes in. Chao has been doing research in the space of wine economics since the early 2010s, and she's published a bunch of papers on the subject. In her latest work, she and one of her PhD students developed an AI that can gauge the sentiment behind a wine review, basically making wine reviews more transparent and understandable. They took 10 years worth of wine reviews, about 15,000 wine reviews from Anna Butler's favorite magazine, Wine Spectator, teaching the AI how to distinguish not only words with positive and negative connotations, but sentence structures as well, because as we know, context matters. Their AI tool achieved almost 90% accuracy in providing transparent explanations.
So her AI tool decodes wine reviews. Is that right?
Yeah, essentially.
This raises so many questions for me, just the concept of AI in food in general. Because at the end of the day, these algorithms do not know what it is to be human, right? And the nuances that exist, especially in food and tasting food. You know, we all read restaurant reviews and food reviews. I mean, you really just have to take everything with a grain of salt because all of our palates are so different. So I just have a hard time imagining how AI would be able to distill that much information. Maybe people like a little hint of cat pee, right? Maybe that's not inherently a bad thing, but is the AI treating that as like a trigger word for like in the negative camp?
And shouldn't any of us have an issue with the fact that this computer has never had wine him or herself?
Yes.
I never tried. That's Sauvignon Blanc.
This is like a whole field within AI. It's called sentiment analysis. And this is not only, I mean, we're talking about wine here, but sentiment analysis is being used for so many things. And like the kind of TLDR of this is that it involves having the AI analyze a text, determining whether the text expresses positive, negative, or neutral sentiment, and revealing what someone actually feels.
I appreciate the effort behind it, you know, trying to take AI and find applications for it in food. But I think I gotta say, I think I'll just get my wine recommendations from someone who's just drank a crap ton of wine.
Totally. And then if you bring in an element of humanity to it, Claire, if a great som comes to my table and gets to talking to me about some region of the country or the world where I didn't know they made interesting wine, and they tell an interesting story and they bring me a taste of it, what are the odds I'm going to like that? Probably pretty high.
Sarah, you did talk to a female master som who's based here in Dallas. It's a huge deal. And she has some wine recommendations for us that are American wines, which I just feel like in terms of nuance, it's great to know what's out there. But she has a fun take on it too, which is here's where to buy wines that aren't maybe necessarily just expensive California wines.
Yeah, that's right. I asked Barb Worley, who is a master som, and she works at Nuri Steakhouse in Uptown. Those who have listened to this podcast might have heard us talk about it. It's probably the most expensive restaurant build out in Dallas at $20 million. So at Nuri, they have a lot of high-end wine. They have a lot of special reserve wine. And if you're going to celebrate something, if you have thousands of dollars to spend on wine, they've got one for you. But really interestingly, I was talking to Barb over the summer, and she has a real heart for budget-friendly wines. And so it was fun to pick her brain on like affordable wines, given that a lot of the wines that she's thinking about and keeping in the cellar are not. One of the reasons we were talking about this is because I thought, well, could potential tariffs change our buying habits? What if wine from overseas gets really expensive? What are your thoughts? I asked her on buying wine in the US. And the first interesting thing she said was that we probably can't all turn to California for our wine, mostly because it's not budget wine across the board. She really suggests that you look to other states. She thinks there's great wine in Texas, great wine in Arizona, Oregon, Washington State, and New York State, which I think is fantastic. And then we got to talking about champagne. So capital C Champagne comes from where?
Champagne,
France. That's right.
I'm so good at this.
And I know. And importing the fancy stuff is expensive. How do those of us who like bubbles afford lowercase c champagne, if you'll allow it? Barb Worley was quick to say she loves champagne, capital C champagne, but that there's lots of sparkling options if you open your mind to it. And the fun thing she did was talk about what you do with sparkling wine. So are we just drinking it straight because we're toasting and it's a celebratory situation? Are we eating it with something specific? And I just loved her thought that your bubbles don't have to come from Champagne, France. So she named Gruet in New Mexico, which is a winery there. I've been to a couple of tastings there, and she thinks they're making great sparkling wine stateside. And New Mexico's right there, you guys. She also thinks like non-traditional bubbles, like a sparkling Shiraz, which is a bubbly red wine. She thinks that that's fantastic. She pairs a sparkling Shiraz with the dumplings at Nuri Steakhouse or Joa Grill. Right. So now we're getting like into interesting wine pairings. And technically that's still bubbles, but it's a different kind of bubble. There's one wine that she sells from a Australian vineyard, so still overseas, but not coming from, the Italy and France of the world. And she drinks this sparkling red wine, which she calls psychedelic purple in color. Miriam, I wonder what the AI bot would think about that.
I hope it doesn't get confused by psychedelic and purple.
I know. So she drinks this sparkling red with a blackened blue cheese burger.
That sounds great, and I never would have thought to pair those.
I loved asking a fancy wine person, probably one of the greatest wine minds in Texas, what we do if we're going to buy wine in the US and not from the typical places. And she had so many ideas. And I think for those of us who casually drink wine, it is a good sign that you can find good wine if you try.
I've certainly had wine from Washington, Oregon, New York, even. I know Texas. Arizona, to me, I'm like, what?
That was
Where
revelation.
is that? What is she drinking there? I want to know.
As someone from Arizona, I'm ashamed to admit that I had no idea that Arizona is a place that we should be looking for wine.
Same.
Looks like we need to be planning a wine trip to the southwestern United States.
Sign me up.
Everybody in? Except Miriam?
she can drive.
We love you.
I can.
Can you be our DD?
I
You're
will be
also
your
such a good time.
sober driver. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. And get ready. We will be taking you on a journey next week to our aspirational food destinations. So get ready to be inspired. Special thanks to our producer, Julie Fisk. For the news, I'm Anna Butler. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.